Stand and recite the pledge. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Alright. This is a special meeting, so we're only going to discuss items that are specifically on the agenda. First item on the agenda will be the discussion on the Cattail Road. I guess that's the main reason for this meeting today, is to discuss how we're gonna do that road, or when we're gonna do it. There seems to be some discrepancy on what the best plan of action is, so, I guess anybody wants to start, or anybody from the audience, or something.
If you want to start it, how it first got started,
Well,
or
I
who
mean-
contacted you, or what it's all.
I mean, the only thing that I know about is that we had discussed it in several meetings. The timeline was affected because 17th Avenue didn't get done as fast as we thought, so we kept getting rained out up there. And then, so Dave Ellington contacted me and asked if we were still gonna do it, and if we were gonna do it, when should we do it? And the discussion kinda was that potato harvest is in, well, now it's in 2.5 weeks. If we were gonna do anything, we should do it now, so.
No, we'll start the 5th of September.
Right, and so, and I had talked to Jody and a couple other guys, and kind of in agreement that we still wanted to move forward with doing the work, and so I just told Ellingson, let's just stick to the plan of trying to get it done. Their estimated timeline was 2 to 3 weeks, and so I basically just kind of moved on with that. I didn't really feel like it was a decision, more so just, yeah, we're moving forward with it, and then I contacted you, just to let you know that we were gonna still try and get it done, cause there were obviously people wanted it to get done, and I wanted to get done too, and so. And then after that happened, you know, you had discussions with people, and there was, you know, different ideas on how to fix it, and whether or not it could get done in that timeline, and then I was contacted again, or was in contact with Seaview Farms, and then they had concerns that it was gonna interrupt potato harvest, which I don't disagree with, and I had the same concerns, but my opinion was that if we were all on the same page that we wanted to get something done, it was either kinda now or never. It's generally the driest time of the year, and harvest hadn't started yet, but I was also unaware that there was still some potatoes to haul out and other stuff, so I had no problem with halting it so we didn't interrupt what's going on down there, so. The main reason for having this meeting is to discuss if we're gonna do anything this year, what that's gonna be, and who's gonna do it. I mean, that's kind of the main question now, so, you know, since there was enough outside discussion, it was like, well, it was time to have a meeting then. I thought the original plan was just to have a couple guys go down there and try and narrow it up and fix the soft spots and just kinda go from there, so that was the original plan. Whether or not it's right or wrong, I'm totally on board with whatever, just as long as we're all in agreement that that's the plan, whether it's a small patch for now and hope for something better next year, but then obviously waiting till next year is probably not convenient for some people either, and so what's the plan and how do we wanna do it and who's gonna do it, so.
And that's the way it did take place. You did contact me, and I did say, well, if that's what they want to do, if they can get it done in that timely manner, I'm on board. Until that evening, or that day, some guys must have heard about it from guys out of Cattail Bay. The talk was that we were gonna move forward, but yet the talk was that we might pull the brakes on it and pause. Then Larry Vandervorst reached out to me and called me that evening. We talked probably for 45 minutes to an hour. And it was all good, and a lot of common sense brought forward. I mean, utmost, and I respect Larry for the phone call. And I told Larry I would stop out and probably bring another commissioner with it. Guy's got a free moment. But it rained that day, so I didn't go out. I called Aaron the next morning. I said, I don't know, I can't support this right now, Aaron. Just because of the fact what I'm hearing from the people in the immediate area that have lived in that area, that know that soil profile out there. So, when was that? I got a phone call that next day from Dave Ellingson asking who put a stop to it. I said, nobody put a stop to it. We just paused on it because of the time frame. And from guys that called and spoke to me. So out of utmost respect to the guys that did reach out to me, we met then on Friday. I called Aaron, but he had a well issue at Hazelton where the water well went out in Hazelton City. So Miller had a moment, so he rode along out, and I met with them on the road site with Mark Vanderhorst, Larry Vanderhorst, Dennis Gloss. They brought Brian Rudy with, Darris, Jim Wagner. They were all on site. We talked about it, and they suggested, why don't you leave this road intact the way it is and cut out these soft spots? And they indicated that Brian Rudy and Dennis Gloss would step up to the plate and help the county out. By doing this, they're seasoned employees where they've been and where they have been. They live in the immediate area. If they could get one blade and support from the county, and leave our blade operators, they indicated that to me, leave our blade operators on the roads to help guys on the other routes that have been struggling, that have been pulled off these routes, putting culverts in, whatever, and have somebody lead and another guy follow and get these roads in shape. And I thought it made utmost sense. Did I reach out to you then and discuss that with you, I believe? And then I got a phone call from Dennis Holm on Friday when I was on my way to the doctor's appointment. Must have been, was that Thursday or Friday? Thursday, I believe. Or was it Friday? You're in there, Dennis. When did you give me a call?
Thursday.
Thursday? On the way up to a doctor's appointment, we had a talk. Dennis was upset about it, and that's his right. So I don't know, these guys were willing to come on board to help the county out, and we've been looking for help. And I didn't discuss no wages, I didn't guarantee nothing, we shook the hand with one another out there. I said, if we do this, I want utmost respect for everybody. And no finger pointing that it was your deal, and you're wrong. They all shook hands out there like men. And I said, if I can get you two guys to come on board to address these three soft spots, if they'd be willing to do it. And Larry Vanderhorst's quote said, quote, are you guys gonna stay on board, or are you gonna backpedal up? Dennis and Brian said, we'll stay on board. And then we talked, and I wasn't playing power trip guy as a board member. All I said, what would you guys need? Would you be agreeable on the same wages that our part-time employees are at 26 bucks an hour? And they both said, no problem. We'll help you out on this spot, on this issue, on this 2-mile stretch. Ketterling, I reached out to him, the manager of Seaview Farms. He was in Oregon or Washington State looking at equipment. He said, I'm not against progress, and nor am I against progress. But he said, I'd appreciate it if they would hold back, because we're going into a wet season, it can be unpredictable, and wait till after harvest or early next summer. And that's what he asked me, and that's where it stands. These guys are willing to come on board. I feel, and this is only my opinion, if they come on board at 26 bucks an hour, and we can keep our staff on our roads and get them up to shape before the deep freeze sets in, it's nothing but a benefit. They don't get windshield time because they live out there, and I'm sure we can take time cards out there and they can punch in on Seaview Farm time clock. Do you have a time clock out there?
No, we wouldn't be able to facilitate.
You can't facilitate that? Okay. Okay, but I just had to ask, I didn't know. But I think it's nothing but a plus for the county. That's my opinion. So that's where this is at.
How long is harvest?
It's weather and temperature derived. I mean, we try to shoot for that October 5th time.
It would be that,
To be completed, but just depending on what kind of
Probably a good
fall we
month then.
receive.
Yeah.
No, I think something should be done, I'm not exactly sure, cause how long did the guys, they said 2 to 3 weeks it would take, our guys did it.
Right, and my experience with projects is, if you're optimistic at 2 weeks.
It's gonna take longer.
I was gonna
Yeah.
say it'd probably take a month, just to be safe.
Right.
Cause you're gonna run into either some weather situations, some breakdowns, or you're gonna find something in that road you didn't expect.
Yeah.
And
And one
so,
of the comments that was brought up was that, well, we could redirect traffic out to the north by Dave Bauman's, and the biggest concern I got is that you have now you're gonna have 2 roads that are pounded to shit instead of just one, so that's, all I'm saying is that if there's any way that we could hold off, like, we're gonna try to be as respectful as we can on that aspect of it, and, it's just a big concern for us, because then you're gonna have going towards Mark's Vandermoor's house that way and out, and then that whole stretch going to the north, and then that stretch going back to the east. So, there's a lot more issues there, so.
I see it and I look at it, just when I drove out after Larry called me that evening, I drove out, well, I was out there that day he called me, excuse me. I drove out there, and I drove that Bauman Road, going down there, around there by those trees, going down into the break. That's a mess, and I said, how are these trucks gonna come out of here? If it gets wet of any sort. And then I drove that 2-mile stretch, and I got out and I walked it, the ditches on both sides. And I said, my God, and I looked at Vandermoor's feedlot, I've seen it in the spring of the year. It's alkali, it's a swamp, am I right, Mark?
Yeah.
It's a swamp.
Those ditches are really bad. I mean, they're just bog.
It's a bog, that's what Larry indicated, it's boggy ground. I live next to a lake, so I understand where you're coming from with boggy soils, it's ugly. You can go in there maybe with a light tractor like it was indicated to me.
Yeah.
You can go in there and you can hay maybe some of those ditches, but not every year. And if you got a full bale in the baler, you will go down. So you try to bale going in empty and going out of that bog to get out of there. So I just, out of respect to the guys out there, I just I didn't do it on my own. I talked to the guys, I mentioned it to Aaron, Craig, and to Gary, and I think you reached out to Donnie. So this is where it stands. I'd like to bring these 2 guys on board, and they're willing to come on board. And Schlosser indicated that he'd bring a truck on board. We just looked at his papers that were issued to Marlis, that he's certified and licensed and bonded. This is where I stand on it. I'm for what we talked about, not because it was my idea, it was your idea, everybody's.
Sure, but Ralph, you wanted to say
Is
something?
there any possibility that the state in the future is gonna get involved in this to where it can be paved?
Well, that was, the thing I was gonna bring up is, so after it went from, we're gonna pull the shoulders up in the air with ourselves and all this stuff, to maybe doing some other stuff, and it was getting paused for the moment, I called Mike Ravinius from Wold Engineering, and, I told him, cause I don't know of any specific instance where we've actually gone through and gotten a true estimate of what it would take to pave it. Like we always talk about it, it'll be too expensive, and you just kinda write it off, and it's gonna be, I mean.
It's gonna be spending.
But I don't know, I can't remember a time where we specifically, because usually when you do that, it's gonna take some dollars. I mean, the engineers aren't gonna do it for free. So I asked him to work up a proposal of the slightest sort of what it would cost to start a design,
Okay.
and what it would take to pave it. The reason why is there's a handful of options that can happen. There is possibility of state funding through a variety of different mechanisms, you know, whether it's Prairie Dog or the SRF thing we got emails on, which it's a cost share, but we're still gonna have to pony up a lot, but I don't know if you can piggyback them with Prairie Dog funds. Sometimes there's rules you can or you can't, but you had a scenario where you qualified for a couple different opportunities. The Corps of Engineers historically has helped out in that area. I don't think you could have them commit to any one thing, but if you had a project like that worthwhile, like I told Mike to work up a proposal from 1804 to the bull ramp, the whole thing.
The whole
Like,
thing.
not just 2 miles, the whole deal, because that might get the Corps in the Game and Fish to participate, maybe.
Recreation.
And you might also open yourself up to other funding mechanisms because you're broadening your scope. It's not just a farm road now it's recreational, residential, you know.
Yep.
Mike thought that was a good idea. He thought if you're gonna do it all, but even Mike's opinion was, we would probably have to do some dirt work on our own because it's just gonna get so expensive. So, just so you guys are aware, like, At some point, we're still gonna probably have to do some of our own road work, whether we hire local contractors, hopefully cheaper, because if you broaden the whole scope on the whole project, it's gonna be big. But the other funding mechanism, which I don't think Emmons County's ever done before, was to try and incorporate specials.
Okay,
I would like to go down the path of at least finding out what it would take and what it would even look like. Now, Mike's working on that proposal and the different steps to lay it out, because I don't think the county commissioners could even initiate that. The landowners would have to initiate it, so you'd have to have a petition for it. But if that's something that was even interested in, if that was, if we have a proposal and it's like, oh, that sounds like that could be done, maybe you go down that pathway too. I don't honestly believe there's a way to fix that road and leave a gravel top. I don't think there is. I think in the long run, no matter what we do, we're gonna be here again, because,
it's been a nightmare
well,
for
the base
years.
is terrible, everybody knows that, I'm not ignorant to it, and the material the road was built out of was the best they had at the time, and the use of it in combination with that, I just don't think, and it doesn't matter what you do, it's gonna be hard to keep a road that is gonna last for a long time, unless we pave it, and if we pave it,
It's gonna take a leotard.
well, it's gonna be a big project, but I think it's worth going down the rabbit hole.
Well, you gotta, yeah,
I mean, if you
Find
envision
out
a
what it
scenario
is.
where you have an engineered you can mothball the design for 5 years, even, you know what I mean, like, it's not gonna be a waste, it's just, nothing might come of it.
In regards to your question, Ralph, there was an article in the Ag Week in regards to this big dairy that's going in up at Hillsborough. And they were talking about the infrastructure won't be able to support the traffic that's gonna be in that area. So our Secretary of Ag, what's his name?
Doug Gary?
Doug Garin indicated that there's funding in the state and federal to build the infrastructure with funding. So maybe that's something we got,
There, but somebody needs to go
Chase it.
ask or grab it,
yep, yep,
the squeaky wheel
yep,
gets the funds.
Well, and I mean, one sticking point with this road specifically is even though it's heavily used as it is not considered a federal aid road or a CMC road.
It's not, for sure.
No, I asked Mike about that to be sure, and so you take the road west of Strasburg, Tenvick Road, the road west of
Yeah.
Hazelton, those always get the best funding because the state usually piggybacks on these CMC projects because they're considered like, that's basically an unpaved highway. And this road is not categorized that way. I don't know even how you categorize it, maybe that's another opportunity too you can get done, but that's another reason why this road maybe doesn't, they were like, how come they don't stick money into that one? Well, the type of funding we got for roads, that road doesn't qualify, so.
Well, are we putting a Band-Aid on this, or are we gonna have an engineer come and say, hey, you need a mat under this soft spot?
Well, that's what this discussion's gonna be here for, I'd say, the biggest thing, but Dennis, do you have a question, and Steve, you're next.
When was the last time that road was even pulled up?
I've been here 6 years and it hasn't, not pulled up the way, like what David Crum and them guys do. I mean, there's probably some guys that brought the edges in a little bit, but not, I mean, there's parts of that road that I'm told are 45 feet wide, so.
It's 48.
Well, by some spots or even, I think the average is probably 44 or 45 feet, but yeah, it's pretty wide and I don't,
The culvert openings are on the road. It's not that they're past the road, the culvert openings are, they got a flag into the road. That's how far the road is out.
right? So, Steve?
Getting back to look at how Voices of Hawaii are also looking in that Winona might be a historical site to get funding that way,
Sure.
because theoretically it is. Every boat dock around is paved. If you
Yep.
look at it.
yep,
Anglers down to,
Yep.
the bottoms.
yep. That's what I said, it's probably gonna
We
qualify.
just started on getting into this here. I think they've actually talked to you guys a little bit. And I think there might be some avenues there too, just like you're saying here.
Right, and that's why my
Jason-
first
Jason
call was to Mike Ravinius to start a proposal. These guys are aware of the funding mechanisms and what qualifies. More than likely, we're gonna have to have something in place before we'd even petition for any dollars, so the first step is to probably get some kind of something in writing, you know, whether it's even if it's a preliminary design, something, cause then you apply for funding with the idea of this is what you're doing, so. Mike's gonna be in touch, I do know that SRF funding, which for anybody that doesn't know, so that's called the strategic or special road fund. Special road fund, you apply for it obviously, and it's like anything else, there's hundreds of roads in the state that get applied for it, but it's a max of $300,000 and a maximum of 60% cost share. So that is a funding mechanism, but it would take $500,000 project for us to get 300,000, we'd still have to do 200,000, so. And I don't know if you can piggyback that with other funds, if you could, then that's an option, but otherwise, I mean, they're roughly gonna pay for half of something, but I would imagine that's gotta be an engineered job too, because usually when you apply for state funds, you can't just call them and go, hey, we want 300 grand to fix this road, and they're like, well, what are you gonna do? So I would assume, no matter what path we go down, it probably starts with us working with an engineer, so that's why I made that
I
call.
wanna ask Jody something out there, and then you can address it to Jody. You guys are putting another warehouse in, correct?
No,
What are you building? You're building
we're
what?
building a shop.
Or shop? I thought it was another big warehouse, so then you guys are upgrading or
No,
with
this
the
is.
thought of expansion? No, just a shop, okay, okay.
My question though is that, I'm not opposed to the paving, but, it's a lot easier to dress up a gravel road than it is a paved road, once there's issues on that. I would say those other roads that you guys made the comment about aren't gonna have probably the truck traffic, the cattle pot traffic, the corn traffic, the potato traffic on it like those other ones, so my concern on a paved road, for the whole thing would be, we're looking at a different issue on our hands there.
Well, it doesn't necessarily mean if we go down a design path that we have to get it paved, but that was just one, just one option as far as, I feel like in the end, that's probably the ideal situation for most people. That's probably why the road got built the way it built, with some of the widths and stuff too. My question is just, we always claim we can't afford it, it's gonna be too expensive, but we really don't know that. It's a pretty good idea, but it would be nice to go down the rabbit hole and just see what it even looked like, because if that's not an option, then we gotta figure out something with this gravel road, whether we tear it down to the bones and haul material in, do we rock it, do we geogrid, is there concrete stabilization, which, again, that SRF deal, John worked with Old Engineering and they did get an application in for concrete stabilization. That's an option, but again, we're gonna have to pay for 40% of it, whatever it is, and that's gonna be relatively expensive. But the concrete stabilization so far, if anybody doesn't know, they mix basically concrete powder in with the road. We did it in 2 spots last fall, it's really been good so far, but 10 years from now, is it gonna be great, or are we gonna regret it? I don't know, but we did it by the St. Michael's Church and I drove across it, and it's awesome, that part, because that has been a nightmare for us for years.
And by Randy White.
Randy Weigel's I haven't been on lately, but I know Randy had nothing but good things to say about it, so that's another option to try and, we're either gonna have to beef that gravel road up long-term, or it's gonna have to get paved, or we're gonna be, the same thing happened 10, 15 years ago, you and I talked to my dad about it when he was county commissioner, same deal, just it gets to a point where it's like borderline undrivable, it's just a tough road, so.
Before you come, Dan, I met with these gentlemen out there, and Mr. Rudy was discussing that cement stabilization, bringing that and mixing it in. He said this road would be perfect for that once we got it going.
On those soft spots.
The whole thing, just do the whole thing.
And I think that's the anticipation of if we did the SRF funding, it would be to do probably that whole 2 miles at least, I don't know what they specifically applied for, but I think that 2 miles was the priority if we were gonna concrete stabilization.
Once we get these wet spots cleaned up, he said, once you get it set to go, that would be the way to really make a nice road out there.
Jody, would you be okay with if we go in there, not meaning the county go in there, if Dennis and Brian are willing to come on board or whoever, cut these 3 soft spots out and try to stabilize them for this traffic this fall? And then you'd be okay with that?
Yeah.
Instead of tearing that whole road open?
Yeah, I couldn't imagine it taking that long, if they got, were able
How,
to.
did they ever say how long it would take?
Well, Dennis can speak and Brian isn't here, I don't know what happened, but,
He had an emergency, I was told. He had to
Okay.
take somebody to the doctor.
okay,
Yeah, Brian's, you know, he bladed that road for, what do you say, 14 years.
Yeah.
He knows that road.
yeah,
And he was fairly certain that a lot of these, he thinks you just plow them out and they were, because some of them are just sand pushes.
yeah,
You
yeah.
know, was his opinion. And I'd be willing to help him out, you know. But, I mean, Brian, like I said, Brian knows, he knows the county better than I do, you know, where things are at in this county and all that. You know, sure, I'd be willing to help him, I mean, when he needs me. And as far as hours, neither one of us is looking for a long-term thing here.
Yeah, yeah.
So, I mean, and that was the consensus, I think, of everybody out there, is let's fix these bad spots. No matter what you do, you're not losing money by fixing that bad spot.
Yeah.
No.
Because if you, no matter what, you need that base underneath.
Yep, right,
Well, something's gotta be done this year.
yep. And I would think that'd be a smart thing to do, that's my opinion, as Dennis is speaking that,
Yeah,
and the other guys.
yeah, that was kind of the consensus I got out there was, let's fix these real bad spots for right now, put a blade on it, and let's blade it down, you know.
And I called Aaron, being the excavator's out there, they took the excavator out there, when was it, last week, to pop those trees out of the ditch. I said, leave that excavator set, it's there. If whoever does it, you and Brian or whoever, that excavator's there to do those 3 spots, if they need it, it's there.
Yeah.
Instead of hauling it again, unless you need it on a culvert job.
Right.
So that's where I'm at with these guys, and that's what was discussed.
That's,
Nothing's hidden, everything is in the open, is it not, guys?
that's kind of what we had discussed out there, and I see most of the guys are shaking their heads. Let's try and fix these bad spots for right now and patch this up and see what, because it's late in the year, they're looking at, you know,
1st of September.
right. And you tear that up and it, you know, I don't care, you know, I don't, what you guys decide is what we'll do, I mean.
I will tell you, I don't care about tearing it up, but I seen the rain that they got in Bismarck, Mandan, then 4 to 6 inches, and that could happen down there, when this road is open. Seaview Farms is in a pickle, because they can't move. Right, you can't harvest if that road is absolutely ripped to crap.
Yeah, it would be challenging, we'd figure out something, I mean, we'd have to go out to the north, but it would be a pretty big inconvenience, but, you know, we'll, but I think if you get something going now, we'll be just fine, and it's not just us, I mean, there'll be corn harvest going on here, and it won't take long either and stuff, so.
Aaron, are there a lot of farmers that use that road?
Yeah, there are, because, correct me if I'm wrong, there's a lot of independent farmers and also people that farm the potato rotation, right? Cause not every piece of ground you guys have is in potatoes every year, so you guys rotate out and like rent that out to other people?
Yeah.
So there's corn, beans, something else rotating on some of that irrigated ground, right?
Yeah, I imagine cattle will be moving out.
Right, but I mean, even just your guys' process specifically, like, there's certain grounds you rotate out of potatoes into other stuff, and so, yeah, so there's probably
Do
gonna,
you
there's,
think the DOT would make a farm to market road? We've done that before.
well, that would be the thing, I don't know the process of how to do it, but if you wanna designate that as a farm to market road, but I would caution that there are also requirements when you make things a farm to a CMC road too, you know, I mean, I'm surprised they didn't make it a CMC road, so it wouldn't shock me if there's some reasons not to.
Okay.
Just, you know what, I'm trying to figure out why they wouldn't have, as important as that road is to that
Because we've
area.
added other roads since I've been
Right.
manager, I know we've added.
I mean, that's
other
another
roads.
option too, that would maybe open it up for more funding, would be to designate it as a federal aid road, but what does it need to be to designate it? Cause we might have to do a bunch of work to bring it in order to make it, you can't probably just make it a road unless it.
Can prove it.
Exactly, I'm just saying, there's gotta be some kind of reason or some specifics as to why it wasn't, because you would think that would open it up for better funding situations and stuff too, so. That sounds like an easy idea, but I wouldn't be surprised if there's some hang up with that, that's all I'm saying, but it's definitely something to ask Mike too, as far as why hasn't it been, and if it isn't, is there a good reason not to, because maybe that's exactly the course it needs to be, maybe it needs to be a federal aid road too, so, I don't know.
Well, Larry's lived there the longest. What are your feelings on this, Larry?
Well, I'd like to see them fix start with the worst soft spot right away. The one right off the highway, that's the worst one.
Yeah.
You know, the other ones we actually could even live with if we can't get it done.
Yeah,
But that one there, I mean, that thing is hard to live with.
closest to the highway, right, coming
Yeah.
down that slope.
About a quarter mile.
Yep,
But
Where it's about a foot drop.
yeah, that's,
yep. There's that foot drop and it's wide, that soft spot.
and it was just bladed
We played it
yesterday, and hell, it ain't no improvement hardly at all.
Yep,
I
yep.
think there was a little gravel put over the top.
Yeah, but I mean, it's nothing there.
It didn't do anything as far as the
No.
softness. That's still there.
Yeah, And one thing I'd caution, you know, where that excavator was setting and, you know, there's a reason the trees are growing
You
in
bet.
there and cattails.
Yep.
Whenever you see cattails, you don't want that dirt on top of that road.
No.
You know, so there's gonna have to be kind of a plan there of, if they're gonna cut that in like them guys do, I wouldn't go down very, you know, into that slough area, because I think some of them soft spots, that's what it is some of that bad dirt is starting to work its way out, you know.
I'm thinking, you guys can correct me wrong, that's just my thinking. I walked that road the day when I talked to Larry that evening when he called me and I talked to Mark. I walked those ditches and just kind of put my heel into that dirt. I mean, it's soft. And I said, I look at that width of that road, if they're gonna do it, leave that base, fix these soft spots. And you may end up bringing clay in from a hilltop somewhere to the west and build that road up and get your slope. And leave that base with fabric and then build your slopes on that road bed. That's my thinking, I may be way wrong, I'm not a road builder.
Well, I know Mike Gravinius had mentioned that the concrete stabilization would be a nice process, because that would be a good base to build on if you were gonna, like, if you were gonna raise it, if you concrete stabilize it, that's about the same difference as, you're basically making that base something it can't be without concrete.
Yeah.
And then from there, if you wanted to build it up, slope it, narrow it, he said that's why the concrete stabilization wouldn't be a waste, even if we decided later to pave it, rebuild it, whatever, that it would be a good process no matter what. So that's why they applied for that SRF funding for it, and maybe it won't get that, but it might qualify for some other funding, or, you know, with the legislature meeting now, and if the Prairie, I guess the big question with Prairie Dog will be if the property tax measure goes through, because if that goes through, the Prairie Dog goes away, but if not, then the Prairie Dog would stay, and we would more than likely get some funding, and we could utilize that for concrete stabilization, and then from there, you could build off of that, so.
I'm not against pulling the sides up onto that road, but this is a different 2-mile stretch. That's different ground, totally.
I think we're all kind of in agreement that the road's gonna be tough to fix no matter what, so for the sake of time, so we're not here all day, the biggest question's gonna be is, are we gonna have our guys go out and fix these soft spots, or are we gonna hire a couple other guys to go do it? And then the other thing is, we're probably gonna need some kind of project manager, somebody that's we're gonna have to mark these spots a little bit or something. Are we gonna go 20-foot wide soft spot, or are we gonna go 50 feet wide? Cause you send Dennis and a couple guys out there and they fix what they think is a soft spot, and somebody else goes, well, they didn't go wide enough, and then you got another fight. Like, somebody's gonna have to, we're gonna have to be in agreement of like, this is the spot, this is what we're gonna do. Are we gonna haul in?
They don't know, nobody knows until they get into it.
I get that, but I'm just saying there has to be like an initial, like, start to the project, like, we're gonna just go from this point 100 feet, and then we're gonna go another half mile down the road, and we're gonna do this point for 50 feet, or whatever, like, that's the decisions that need to get made, and somebody needs to be kind of like a manager of that project, whoever it is.
Yeah, but
I'm just saying, I
think the 3 spots are pretty well marked, are they not?
They're
When I drove the road, they're marked,
Yeah,
just the way they're pushed out, am I right, Mark?
yeah,
It's pretty clear,
you can't miss them, I mean,
you
they're,
can't.
no, I get that, but I'm just saying, sometimes with them soft spots, 'cause I know we've dug them out before, if you don't go 20 feet on each side of them and get into some good dirt, like, if you're only gonna stop where it's soft, you're just, that soft spot will just push, like, you kinda almost need to, if it's a 50-foot wide deal, you're probably doing a 70, 80-foot wide soft spot to truly fix it if you're gonna, and, I mean, that's my opinion on it, so I mean, somebody's gonna have to go out and just be like, this is the spot, that way there isn't any confusion of,
Well, I would say the two experienced operators on this project would know where to stop.
well, I mean, if that's what you wanna do, it's fine, I don't care, I'm thinking of like, these guys too, like, they go out and do it, and then somebody's like, well, geez, they didn't do enough, or, I mean, there needs to be an agreement of what's gonna get done and how it's gonna get done, that's all I'm saying, I just,
That's good.
Well, go ahead.
I don't think, you know, in all those soft spots have been there for a long time, but I don't think anyone's ever tried anything on it. So according to Dennis and Brian, they suggested even before, you know, it's not gonna be a big costly thing, cost the county a bunch of money, they said just take the heel or the toe of the blade and just dig it out and get that material out. And they said it'll dry out, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
Brian said he's done lots of them out there, you know, years ago. That's all you had, you were alone out there in the blade. So you dig these out. It was, sometimes it wasn't, but you guys are talking a little different. Now, somebody had mentioned you got crushed concrete in there.
I believe we have
We
some
do, I think.
inventory in the
Yep.
shop, or up at the, in Linton here.
And somebody suggested, well, dig them out and put that in, rather than wasting your time just healing them out. I mean, or.
Yep.
Well, that's kind of, I mean, that's what I'm getting at, is we need to agree on a plan, cause digging out a soft spot means two different things, cause our guys dig out soft spots with the blade, like you said, sometimes you come up and there's a 2-foot windrow and you can't figure out why, well, they peeled out this spot, they're hoping it dries, they're gonna try and lay it back in and pack it.
And it don't.
Then the next time we've gone out with an excavator and we've dug out 100-foot stretch and you lay fabric, or, you know, I mean, or we've got geogrid, I mean, is that how far you wanna go, is fabric and geogrid and crushed concrete? Or do you just wanna heel them out with the blade and kind of restrict traffic for a week and let the ground, cause you're talking about basically digging the soft stuff out, let it dry and putting it back in though? Is that what?
Well,
Maybe, right? Maybe,
Is that
depending what it
where-
is.
That where this fella here was saying that, should we get somebody to come and take a look at it, that, no, not a single one of us, I don't think is a road builder.
No.
And that's where I'm coming from with this, like,
Yeah.
if we're gonna do something, like, leaving it to Dennis and Mr. Rudy, and then what they do isn't good enough, right? Like, we need to have some kind of a plan, or at least we're all in the room going, okay, that's our plan, if it doesn't work, we tried, not 5 people thinking this is a good idea, 10 people think it's bad, and we're fighting about it again here come October, you know?
Not for it the first time.
Right, but as long as we can agree on a plan, and it's the same thing with the shoulder pulling. I know it was a big risk, and I wasn't trying to make it a single decision, my point was as a board, we've talked about it several times. Jim was in at the last meeting, wondering when we were gonna do something, Ellingson asked if we should do something, I'm like, yeah, I think everybody wants to do it, and I was even like, that's kinda risky, we're cutting a close potato harvest, but if we don't do it now, when are we gonna do it? Even that decision, I mean, that's the reason I called Materi, I didn't wanna call the whole board and have some secret meeting, I called one guy and I said, what do you think? And he's like, let me go talk to some people, he came back with your guys' input, I'm fine with it, but we can't be frustrated with the Cattail Road and agree to fix it, but then can't agree how to fix it, and no matter, like, we gotta have something where at least we're all on the same page and going, hey, this is the risk we're gonna take, if it fails, at least we're all on the same page that that was the best idea at the time.
And that was the
Right,
agreement that
and
we
so-
had, correct, guys? Wasn't that the agreement?
I honestly.
So nobody's pointing fingers at anybody.
Exactly, I'm trying to corral this into a point where it's like, I don't think anybody disagrees we wanna do something, it's just, what are we gonna do? And if it doesn't work, like, we're not gonna sit there and just point fingers at everybody and go, well, you only wanted to do that, well, I don't care what we do. As long as we can get it done where we're not jeopardizing people's harvests, and it's something that we think is the best bang for the buck in the shortest amount of time, like,
When
it's.
is the new, when you guys hiring the new commission,
28th of August is when the interviews are.
That's at the end,
I thought it would be earlier.
so it wouldn't happen until,
Probably won't happen till who knows it.
Theoretically,
Depends if he's got a job or
something like
what.
this would have to be done right now.
well, and I'm
This
just
should be
saying,
done now.
I thought it was like within the next day or 2 days.
if that person has to give 2-3 weeks notice,
Yeah,
you might not
our
get
job
somebody
is-
here till the end of September, so and I agree, that would be a great idea to wait for a superintendent, but yeah,
But then it
That
would-
person
But it's his opinion too, then, you know, like we say, but he's the soup.
but
cause wait until October, in my opinion, if we're throwing around opinions, that's a bold risk.
Yeah.
I mean, October,
lucky.
I've trick or treated in snow pants plenty of times, October ain't a time to start anything, it's a time to finish stuff, so. I mean, I'm all about fixing 3 soft spots, cause no matter what we do in the future, them 3 soft spots are
Still
gonna
have
get
to
addressed.
fix.
Yeah.
But then my opinion is if we're going to fix soft spots with the goal of maybe concrete stabilizing or
That's-
pulling shoulder.
That's what I like.
Maybe we should just dig them
That's what
son of a
yeah.
guns out and get some dang material in there that we can, cause if you gotta go and dig them out next spring for another project, then it's like, well, shoot,
You ain't gonna dig
just
it.
kinda wasted some
Yeah.
time,
I just.
and that's just me spitballing, I'm all about trying to just get it as good as it can be for what we want it to be, and then.
I think everybody's in agreement with that, I don't think there's gonna be any finger point if it doesn't.
Right, there isn't, right?
Yeah,
There ain't
I
gonna
mean,
be nobody
that's-
bitching at nobody
Right,
else.
'cause that's where,
There's no finger pointing if it doesn't work, but it'd be nice to try something, nobody's
Yeah.
expert here.
Cause it's just never been, no one's tried ever on the,
we
So-
got an excavator down there, I think we should dig them out, haul that crap away.
Haul it and put it in the gravel pile on a pile.
If it's been crap
bring
there
in
for 100
material
years,
that's
it's gonna
gonna
be
be
crap
dry.
for another 100 years, let's just get it out of there.
Yep.
We can use it on another project when it dries
We
out.
got geogrid, we got fabric, and I think the best thing to do, in my opinion, is let's bring 1 or 2 of these guys on that know how to do some stuff, and then let's give them one of our guys that's got some familiarity and a CDL and all that can help that, just like,
yeah.
I think putting 2 guys out there that aren't a part of the county typically and expect, well, we need something, well, now who do you call? Do you call material, do you call the shop? We should give them, in my opinion, it should be a Dave Ellingson or somebody that's been blading out there,
He's our
whatever.
foreman.
Well, Gar's tough because we steal Gar all the time and the Braddock people hate that, I'm just saying.
Yeah, but he's our assistant foreman.
True, but I'm
He's
just
getting
saying,
extra.
we've done that before and then we fleece the cattail people that we have a Braddock uprising, it's happened, so. I don't know who it is, I don't care who it is, but I think you should give them somebody who's a very handy personnel that can, maybe you designate them a bit of the project manager and you give them some good help and you send 2, 3 guys down there and you spend a week and a half and you dig them out, you haul that crap away, you haul stuff in that we agree is good. Let's try and patch them and not heal them, but just like, or maybe it's backwards, instead of not patch them, let's heal them.
We don't know until we get into it.
It's gonna vary what's there.
Right,
That's right.
If we dig it out, and run into a spring, well, that's gonna change everything.
Everything, then you're gonna end up laying pipe, perforated pipe or something,
Yeah,
right?
perforated pipe, or
Well-
dig it out if you've got concrete chunks that you can, so that water can.
I've been a part of some ugly projects, I've never been a part of one that didn't have some risk. At some point, you gotta bite the bullet and take a try, and I think we have geogrid, we have fabric, we have crushed concrete, we have all the things anybody else would suggest fixing. And you know what, we don't dig all 3 spots open the same day, you just, you dig one open and you get, and maybe it goes really great, it only took a day and a half, and you're like, man, then the next one might take a week, or maybe you even gotta push it back, I don't know, it's gonna be a
You won't
gamble
know
no matter
until
what
you
you
get
do.
You don't know until you do it.
But you know,
We could help out with a dump truck too if need.
Well, I just, my experience, the ones where we hauled the garbage away, they always lasted longer.
Yep.
The ones where the guys healed up with the blades, they're great, and then 20 feet down the road, the water just pushed underneath the road and got to another spot, yeah.
That's what Brian indicated too, and you indicated.
And Dennis, you
gotta cut that wedge like Brian talked, right? as you
hang on a
talked.
second here, Dennis has got something to say.
You said to bring these 2 guys on board to help with these 2 spots and leave your blade operators out on the blades. Don't you think it'd be better to try to get those blade operators we have also, bring these guys on board, and that's great. Pull up the whole road. Think of this, pull the whole thing up, and then those soft spots that we have time next spring or next summer, work with those 3 spots to fix them. Or even the 1 spot that's bad right there by the irrigation pivot. Fix that one, because that has been bad for years. Do something with it better than what it is now. But pull the whole road up, and you get these 2 guys get Dave Ellingson and Dave Crum, and pull the whole road up. Granted, we might have to redo something next spring if those spots are, we know that muck down in the bottom, down by Larry's is not gonna change anything. That road has not been built up for, we don't know, 20 years, maybe more. We could pull the whole road up and you get 4 guys in there working that know what they're doing, trust me, in 2 weeks' time, you can pull up a lot.
I think there's no time to do that big of a project before our potato harvest.
Well, I think a week ago was probably the closest you could cut it, now that we lost a week.
Well, that's it, we already lost.
Exactly, it would be tough, like that's, and that was,
That would ever work.
that was kind of the keynote to Ellingson's phone call, was like, if we're gonna do it, it's gotta be now, and that's why I'm
Right.
like, well, there's no reason to stop you guys, you might as well go for it, and then after there was apprehension, it's like, well, it's already cutting it too close, the time we've lost, now it's really too close, so,
Today's Tuesday, they were gonna
And-
start yesterday,
and to be
Okay.
fair, I mean,
so we lost a day.
right, but the taking out the trees and digging up the soft spots was gonna happen as a part of that too, just to be clear too, like, they were gonna go out and dig some, and that's why that whole
And they did.
excavator, but, I think if you're gonna do any shoulder pulling now, it's probably gonna have to wait till June, July or something next year after planting for potato, or, you know, for potatoes and stuff too, and everybody else, and then, I mean, it's just gonna be cutting too
We're done in
close.
May.
You what?
We're done in May.
Right, but not everybody down there will be done in May too, though, so you're pretty much gonna have to figure it after Memorial Day at least.
Most guys are done planting down there. May,
But June's
corner,
historically
whatever.
wet too, so that's a trouble.
Just the way it is.
I would say the 1st of June, it's pretty quiet down there after
Yeah.
that.
But, I mean, but then again too, if we're not gonna do well, from what Mike told me is even if we did concrete stabilization or anything, we'd probably still have to do some shoulder pulling and shape it up and narrow. I mean, it wouldn't just happen the way it is too, so anything we're talking about with either pulling the road up and narrowing, it's gonna have to happen no matter what we do. So, but the timing right now is probably just not perfect, so
And Ellingson indicated to me when he called me that day, when I just said, I can't support this. After Larry called me that evening, I thought about it all evening, and that morning, I just said, I can't support this, you ain't gonna get this done. Dave called me, then quote Ellingson. He said, who stopped it? And I said, nobody stopped it, just looking at it thoroughly. And looking at the big picture of what we could run into with the spud harvest. I said, how long do you feel it'll take you to pull these shoulders? You said 2 guys, 2.5 weeks. Well, yeah, hopefully, I said, if you don't run into any problems, correct? He said, yeah, that's the perfect scenario. You'll be done in 2.5 weeks, gravel, everything. Well, no, it might take another, we need a water truck, we need a roller, a packer, need 2 guys on the gravel trucks. It'll probably take us another 2.5 weeks to finish it up. I said, you're looking at then 5 weeks. 5 weeks, if my math is right, 2 and 2.5. So I said, you're going in, guy, you do your math, what window we're going into. And that's with no problems, that's with, and you're thinking pulling these ditches up, going down with them blades into that muck. You might make 1 pass with that blade, you might, but you're gonna go down after that next pass. And you're gonna be laying there and you're gonna be pulling yourself out of that muck with that excavator. That's my thinking on lake bottoms.
right.
Am I right, Larry, where you guys farm?
Well, let's,
Well, listen here,
Well, I just wanted to voice.
what I'd like to see you guys do is just like I said, take that excavator, the bad one, next to the highway, is take that and cut clear across the damn road, because that does go clear across.
Yep.
And that's just do that one, when they get done, you guys look at it, see what the hell you think, you know?
And see what they run into.
And maybe that's all we'll do. You know, like them other soft spots, a person can live with it. You can actually drive around them.
Yeah.
But that other one there, you can't even drive around them.
You're in it. I drove, you're in it.
You'd have to take the ditch to get away from it. And then we'll see what we got.
I don't wanna pull that muck and that dirt on these sides up to that road bed, and I'll say it, it's the way it is, it's crap. I don't care if I'm on video, that's the way it is.
it's a good save, I wasn't picking on you, I was
Yeah.
impressed, but.
But that's what it is, and I don't wanna see it on that road top, and we get rain, a slow, soft rain, and it soaks, and that muck is on top.
I just wanna see something start over there and get something going, because, you know, we sit here and we talk.
Yep,
Yeah,
yep,
well, I
yep.
mean, if we're gonna defend the reason why I told Emmons to go ahead, it's because, well, if I call 5 people and we're gonna be here, and I'm like, they want something done,
Yeah.
he wanted to do it. And you know, how it would've went, I can't imagine they would've pulled up 2 miles of road in one day, they would've probably pulled up a half mile, and it would've worked as a project, they got it sorted out, but we're taking too long on this. In my opinion, again, since we're just spitballing ideas, if we're just gonna dig out one bad spot right away and start with it, I don't see why we couldn't just put 1 or 2 of our guys on it if it's only gonna take a couple days and give it a try then, instead of bringing on help that's not familiar with the county. Let's just put, I mean, that's Ellingson's territory down there, and he wanted to tear into it, let him dig the soft spot out and give him 1 truck driver, Terry Ibach, somebody, they can haul some material in, try and fix it. Putting Dave off of his route for a week isn't gonna be the end of the world, and part of his plan with this was to have
That'd be
John.
2 weeks, he was gone last week too.
Well, he was gonna have John T. Newsma run over his route in the other spots, and I did see John T. was out blading too, so.
And it needed attention, I drove the
Right,
Federal
well,
Aid Road.
if John T. was out blading some of Dave's spots, so he could go dig this, let's just go let them dig this one soft spot out, let's see how long it takes. You can hopefully project out the other 2 and see if it's worth doing before harvest, or we do it right after. Try and do that, cause otherwise, I mean, it doesn't seem like we have a real solid plan on timing and how we're gonna do it here, so, I mean.
I think too, that we dig out this one here and go from there, see how long it takes and how bad it is.
Right, and if
The
it
only
seems
way
like
we're
it's
gonna
gonna be a
know is like-
nightmare, then we talk about bringing some extra help on to get it done. That's, I mean, if we're just gonna dig one out and try it out, like Larry's saying, let's do the first one with our own guys.
And
It
then
should
go-
only, in theory, take what, I mean, 2 days, 3 days? Can't take that long to dig that out, that big excavator, it shouldn't.
I don't think it'll take.
I think it'd take 2 days would be my opinion, 3, and I'm usually I'm pretty ambitious, so if I say 2 days, 3. I think in 3 days our guys could do it, and if it doesn't take 3 days and it turns into a nightmare, then it's like, oh, we need more guys, and then we start talking about something different. I mean, does anybody I mean,
No, I think.
I'm
that's
just
right.
throwing that, rather than bring on 2 guys, by the time we get their paperwork and all that stuff done, our guys might have that whole dugout, so.
But that shouldn't take long to do the paperwork, I mean, you guys,
How long does it
you
take?
guys got guys that have ownership in this road.
Right.
I don't know what better thing you could ask for, and then be able to keep the original county guys going about.
I'm not against bringing on extra help, but I just, if it's 1-2 day deal that we're talking and fixing one spot to start out, why
This
don't
has
we
been
just try
going on
that?
for 3 years, I'm pretty sure that this isn't gonna be a 2-day deal,
It isn't good.
so.
No.
I'd like to make a motion, and this is my opinion only. Get the paperwork done for Dennis and Brian to come on board to address these spots on the Cattail Bay Road. They've got meat in this deal, and these guys all agreed upon it. They're not gonna point fingers to nobody that they don't know what they're doing. They're seasoned. Dennis was a superintendent in McIntosh County for X number of years and an employee in McIntosh County. Brian's worked here for the county for 15 years in Emmons County. And he's an employee for a contractor on a finished blade. He knows what he's doing. He worked on 1804, on that whole stretch of 1804. So he knows what he's doing. I'd like to bring these guys on board and address these spots, cause they got, what do you wanna say it? Foot experience on this road project, this 3 mile stretch. These guys have lived in that area,
Hey, well, hold on.
whatever.
That can't all be in one motion here, so make your motion and then.
I'm gonna make my
Make the
motion that these
discussion.
guys come on,
Okay,
and the paperwork, I don't believe is a weak project for paperwork.
I am
Well,
just,
Marlis,
No.
what's the paperwork entail?
They just have to come in and sign some papers with Jody and that's all.
So that takes about
Now,
10
you-
minutes.
but-
Because in order to use the county equipment,
Right.
they're gonna be hired as temp employees.
Right.
Even if they only work 3 days, we just have to do that work. So workers' comp is covered and NDIRF is covered in case something happens.
Right,
That way the blade operators can keep going on their roads that aren't getting done.
that's what I'd like to see, and bring these guys that we got on board, if they're the seasoned blade operators, put them on these routes. At the last meeting, where the guys up in the northwestern part of the county were complaining, they seen a blade once this year. Get one of these guys off of these routes, or they've been across their routes, and they're the seasoned blade operators in our county. Get them on their roads and lead the path, and have these green guys, if they are, follow and get these roads in shape. And if we gotta go with a rotary mower, get somebody ahead with a rotary mower and cut the vegetation down,
Okay,
so they
now-
can do it.
Now, on this road, what are you talking about, just doing the one spot or doing all 3?
I'd say do the one spot as they indicated for a starting point. These guys will see, and they know from being experienced
Right.
operators, if it's fit to do the other 2, do it, and if it's timely.
alright, hang on. So we have a motion to hire Dennis Gloss and Brian
Brian
Rudy
Rudy.
as part-time county employees to do repair work on the Cattail Road. Is that your
Correct.
motion? Is there-
Part-time temp employees.
Part-time
Whatever
temporary
the
employees,
proper
correct?
terminology is to get them insured and covered. Is there a second to that motion?
I'll second it.
Seconded by Commissioner Miller. Now we're in discussion, discuss as you will.
So then, okay, so they'll do the one spot and then we'll determine from there.
They'll know what they're
Right,
into.
I know, I'm just saying, okay, are we looking at bringing somebody on board from the county to help them out?
If they need help. Schlosser said, and he's got his paper.
Why would you put Dave Ellingson out there? He knows what's going on, he knows how to build roads, he knows what needs to be done in any of the bad spots or anything already anyway. Put him as the road supervisor of that project. At least he knows what's going on, he's built roads before. And why not put one of the county employees that are full-time knowing what's going on? I'm not saying these guys don't know it, because I know them, they know what they're doing also. But you've got your county employee, put Dave on a project, or project manager of it.
We've got a superintendent, an assistant, that's
Yes,
Star
I agree.
Schmidt. He's getting paid extra to be that man. I think he's the guy that should be running the county shop. He's getting paid the extra wages. He should be overlooking that. And bring these two guys on board, and Schlusser said he'd furnish a truck, and he's already got the papers submitted to Marlis. And he'd haul the freight away if we need the material hauled away, and he'd haul it in, am I right, Schlusser?
That's correct.
It's just-
He was a superintendent for years in McIntosh
I know
County.
that, I know.
Okay,
I know
and
very well.
Dave Ellingson was never a superintendent in Emmons County. I drove his road, Dennis, and I'll openly say it. I said, who blades the road 1804 to Strawberry? He said, I do. I said, you're talking about taking these soft spots out. Why haven't you taken that soft spot out on that federal aid road if you know how to do it? Why haven't you taken them out? And that road, you couldn't even travel it,
You
Dennis.
can't do it in one time.
What do you mean you can't do it at one time?
You can't just go and blade it, and then blade it out, and then it's all taken out. It takes time to try to, when you have this much truck traffic on the road, to taking these spots out.
Well, that's what we're just talking here.
I know that, but that spot out there that you're talking about, there's something underneath there that's either it's a sand hole, or it's a clay or something that's loose. The one by the highway, by the pivot there that Larry was talking about on Cattail.
Well, that's the same on the federal aid road.
But the reason I would agree with him on that is they even if they know what they're doing, they're gonna need somebody to reach out to for resources or whatever product or whatever they might need.
That- I mean,
And that's
that
not
was-
necessarily gonna be you guys, is it?
Right, that was, well, my initial point is I'm not gonna be the contact man on Cattail project, I'm probably gonna be 40 miles away.
Right.
And, it should be somebody at the county who's, got the authority and know how it'd be like, we need to get a truck down here or something, so that way Dennis and Brian aren't just on their own, out on the Cattail Road with stuff they may or may not even need, or maybe they dig into something, they need something, there should be someone that's like, hey, I know where to get that, I don't even need to call anybody, let's go get it. And that, whoever that person is, that's why I'm just saying, that should be a designated kind of a project manager, and have them being a county employee is a good idea for the simple fact that they got all the approvals and clearances and all that junk. You pick one employee that just,
Why wouldn't you put your stand-in foreman there then? Isn't that his job? I mean,
yeah, I mean, we can do that, again, like I said, the risk of pulling guard is because he always gets pulled on other projects and his areas suffer too, so that's.
No, he said I talked to him yesterday, he said he's caught up.
Well, if he's caught up, then he can
That's
be
why
the
he's
guy,
the
that's
foreman.
fine, I mean, that's.
That's the guy that should be overlooking this.
I don't care who it is, I just think it needs to
Well,
be
I'm just
somebody,
making
that's,
my point.
I don't know why everybody's starting to vent towards me again. Let's just calm down, cause I'm telling you one thing right now, I'm not gonna keep taking the blame for this Cattail Road, we're sorting this out and we're getting it handled. I don't care how it gets handled, I don't care who handles it, but it's gonna get handled. So if I gotta start handling things, it's gonna get annoying around here, so let's just sort it out, calm down, and take care of it. I got no problem with Dennis and Brian, I've heard nothing but good things about them. I got no problem. I don't think it's fair putting two guys out there that haven't been working for the county, all of a sudden it's like, hey, go fix this road and figure it out. That's not how you do projects.
Thank you.
I'm not a road building guy, but I handle a lot of big projects, and when I worked at the coal mine, Mark can speak for me since we're vetting everybody's experience. I was a land surveyor and part of the engineering department at Falkirk Mine. We built bigger and uglier roads than the Cattail Bay Road. It can be done, but it needs management, and it needs a plan. I don't care who does it, but someone's doing it, and it ain't me. That's it. So, we got a motion and a second on here. I'd say we'll wait for Gary with his phone call, but let's get it handled and move on. I got crap to do. We're not gonna be here till noon repeating the same stuff.
Commissioner Materi, what is the salary that you pay the same as, like the 26 an hour, is what you're thinking?
Do what?
The salary.
The salaries they talked, and our part-time salary guys that came on in 3.
So
And
26,
I openly told them what it was $26 an hour.
so that's what you
Would you
think?
be agreeable upon that? They said absolutely.
Okay,
And no benefits.
okay,
Okay.
yeah, I just need to know,
As
yeah.
a part of
Right,
this,
Dennis?
as a
That's what
part of
was
this
indicated.
discussion, and one more question, Joe, do you have anything to weigh in here on as far as how this process is going? Is this, I mean, hiring, I don't think it's an issue, but
No, I think as long as you hire them as employees are fine, that was my
Right.
only concern.
insurance coverages and the government,
Right, because if they're,
Issues.
if they're maintaining or building a road, then they would have to be a contractor if they're not employees, so that would,
right.
you know.
So we have a motion and a second to hire Dennis Gloss and Brian Rudy as seasonal part-time employees to assist in the maintenance of the Cattail Bay Road. We have a motion and a second. Is there any more discussion?
So, but we're gonna have one of our guys overlooking it.
Well, I think we can designate that even outside of the motion.
Outside,
But
okay.
the motion would be to hire them on as, you know,
Okay.
basically additional employees for the assistance of this project. Is there any more discussion on it?
Excuse me, that's the only place that they really wanna help on. Am I right, Dennis? As of now, right?
Well, I wouldn't want him to do, I mean, that's the only thing.
Well, I was hoping to drag them into about another 2 months worth of work. Dennis is pretty ambitious.
It's just a matter of getting them warm on the
There,
street.
there. Joke cracked, room lightened up. Let's move on. Okay, so Dennis already looks eager. He looks excited. Okay.
And I know Brian's got other commitments too, I think he works for you, though. He will, yeah.
Okay,
So it's not,
okay. Well, that's an additional discussion after this motion now. So we got a motion and a second. Is there any more discussion on the topic? Not hearing any. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Now the next question is gonna be, what's the timeline and what's the expectation on getting this done as far as, are you guys committing to a Monday through Friday, 8 to 5, or, I mean, is it gonna be weekend work? How is, and that's again piggybacking on the reason why we probably need some type of a project manager who's associated with the county, so we can have communications with traffic control and other safety issues, flagging, signage, and the like. I don't expect Dennis and Brian to be able to know the ins and outs of all that stuff, and we have guys that are trained to, you know, sign construction projects, so what's the expectation on the, I mean, cause you just said Brian's basically got full-time employment, so.
No, he does not. He does
So
not, does
he's
he?
gonna-
Just starting for the potato
You
farm.
guys are gonna work on this? What,
as soon as Brian's, you know, I'll be flexible with Brian, I don't care if you wanna put Brian as the project supervisor.
Well,
Like I said, he's got more experience there than I do. He's got experience, he knows where X is at in this county, or it used to be when he worked here, you know. I have no problem with that, whoever.
I think Monday through Friday probably, right, or.
Yeah.
Wednesday, whatever.
Who knows, if it rains nice, I might go out there Saturday and blade it. you know.
right, but I mean, that's, I mean, or I just wanna clarify, are we doing this after hours, cause you guys are already working somewhere, are you doing it during the day, are we doing it during the week, the weekend, like those things probably need to get,
I'm assuming it'll be during the week,
okay,
you know. It's, like you say, it's up to Brian's schedule too, you know.
well, and I think we should designate somebody from the county,
I do too.
so.
And I will make a motion that it should be Gar Schmidt as our road, or our assistant foreman.
Okay, so Commissioner Materi makes a motion to make Gar Schmidt project manager on the Cattail Bay
Project.
Road maintenance. I hate calling it the Cattail Bay Road, we should, what is it,
What street is it?
89.
89th?
89?
89.
cause there's plenty of roads that can be called the cattail
That
pavement.
2 mile
We're talking
stretch
about
west of
89
1804 on
89th Street
89.
southwest, right? Southwest, cause it's out there, yeah.
So,
Okay.
southwest.
So a motion is made by Commissioner Materi to make 89th Street Southwest maintenance repairs, that Gar would be the project manager. Is there a second to that motion?
Would you wanna check with him? Would he rather have somebody else?
Do what?
Would you wanna check with him to see if he'd rather put somebody else on and keep him up north?
Well, he's our assistant supervisor.
I know it.
So I think they should step to the plate as the assistant supervisor. They're being paid to do that, to step up. What if a guy ends up with a heart attack, our supervisor?
No, I'm just
Or a
saying,
car accident, he's held up for 2 months.
I'm just saying, can Gar go and say, Dave Ellingson, you do it?
Well, we have a motion to make Gar the project manager for this deal. Is there a second on that motion? Is there a
So being
second?
that he's caught up, I think he could be, yes,
Is there a second to that motion?
yes.
Seconded by Commissioner Miller. Is there any more discussion on making Gar Schmidt the project's manager for this previously discussed repair on 89th Street Southwest? Is there any more discussion? Not hearing any. All those in favor say aye. Opposed? Aye. Motion carries. Gar Schmidt is the project manager. Appointed project manager. Okay, so Gar's project manager. Dennis and Brian are gonna get brought on. They'll probably deal with Marcy first and then report with Gar. Gar will communicate and you guys will make a plan.
Do we have to have a motion to bring Schlusser on if we need to?
That's
Keep our
the
gravel
next
trucks
agenda
going?
item. I mean, that's gonna be the next agenda
Yeah.
item here that we were gonna discuss yet, so. So the cattail repairs, at this point, satisfied, that's the plan? Any other additions? I guess we'll deal with things as they come along. Gar's experienced, if he knows what's going on, he can relay.
So then we
this.
don't need maybe Schlusser?
No, that's the next discussion is,
okay.
are we gonna be bringing on anybody outside of the county? So with that agenda item, the next agenda item is hiring locals for gravel hauling. To piggyback on that, or to preface it, whatever you wanna say, RTS shearing is gonna be done this week.
Yep.
The reason it went this long is because a few of their truck drivers dropped out for harvest and stuff, they truck grain and other stuff, so they're down to about 4 to 5 trucks, depending on repairs. With the 2 we have, we're running about 6 to 7 trucks right now. At the end of this week, we're gonna be down to 2 trucks. We had guys offer to haul gravel for the remainder of the year, or parts of the year. Steve was one of them. Larry Umber, I think, had voiced his opinion, probably a few others out there.
Yep.
Are we gonna do that? If we do it, what's gonna be our process? And, you know, just for discussion. Same thing with this too, if we wanna bring Steve on, since he's down in that area, and utilize him to haul away some of this poor material and stuff, I don't see the difference if we have him working on that, or we have him hauling gravel. It's gonna probably most likely an hourly rate, and that's how you're gonna do it, so, I guess, I don't have an issue with bringing guys on as long as they got their CDLs and they got some liability insurance, and I don't know if Joe needs to have them sign some kind of waiver or something, since they're like a contractor almost, or anything from you, or.
Just do a contract.
Or just kind of relieving liability of us, they're taking it on themselves essentially, that's why they have their own liability insurance and their own trucks and their own.
Right, we could do some sort of independent contractor agreement, I suppose.
Just something, just like a.
Trucking's a little different, obviously, than road building, so it's.
Right. But I mean, as long as they're meeting the general requirements that obviously are, you know, there's legal limits in this thing. I mean, you have to have a CDL, you gotta have your own liability insurance, it's gotta be up to a certain amount. As long as that stuff is kosher, I got no problem hiring locals as subcontractors to haul gravel or utilize them on that project for a week or 2. So if we're gonna do it, the main thing is that's typically a road superintendent type job, so, you know, who's gonna kinda help manage it and track it and things like that too. And then are we gonna have just an hourly rate we're gonna pay everybody? We're gonna negotiate separately? I mean, those are the kinds of things to discuss. How many of them, you know, we don't wanna bring on 20 of them, that's,
Right.
you know, so are we only gonna limit it to 2? How are we gonna limit that? Are we gonna do interviews? Or, I mean, those are the questions that need to be.
Who's overlooking the gravel project right now?
Well, currently, it's just kind of a combination of everything. Justin Long has kind of spearheaded it a little bit because they were graveling in his area when Skylar left, and he was communicating with them, and he's kind of followed along with them and been kind of a point man, and he's been communicating with the blade operator, so he's actually kind of spearheaded it a little, just because other guys are busy doing other stuff, so he has helped out.
I drove 67th, is that 67th and 69th?
Yeah.
From 1804 into Maine, going east. That's rough. That needs major
You
attention,
mean-
and first and
I
second.
mean, back by Terry Sayre.
Yeah, back in there, to the west of 1804.
They're gonna be doing that yet, they're still working.
From Maine to 83,
Yep.
that's been gravelled, that's in
That's
good
what,
shape.
that's what they did already, and then they
Yeah.
got rained out one day and they moved somewhere else, and so he said they wanna go back and do from, basically from that curve by Terry Sayre,
Yeah.
back to 1804, Justin did
Right.
mention that, so.
That's where we need a seasoned guy helping some of these, how do you wanna say it? And I don't wanna degrade these guys, but guys maybe in point, because there's some of these shoulders that are higher, and what's happening, that water isn't getting off these roads, and it's following that shoulder that's on that road, that sod, and it's washing these roads out bad. And I'd like to see one of these seasoned guys go up there and help these guys and get them in shape and then gravel. That's why I wanna keep these guys on these roads and help other guys out to get it done.
Right.
But yeah, we got a week of guys graveling with 6 trucks and get a lot of gravel home.
They've just been kinda moving around, getting wherever they don't get chased out of rain, that's where they haul for a while till it
Yep.
dries out, that's what they've been doing, so. So yeah,
So you need a motion to bring Lake Schlusser on for park.
well, I think the big thing about it is who are we gonna designate to handle this? We're gonna have like John Ibach be the one that kinda, you know, handles it, since he's kinda doing a lot of the paperwork, tracking, budget type stuff. We're just gonna make the motion to hire people and have them go to him, are we gonna be doing anything, like how do you wanna do it? That's the question. I mean, cause it can't.
Well, wouldn't the
just be-
superintendent handle it?
Well, superintendent would handle it,
You
but we're
keep-
not
you
gonna
keep
have
putting more
anybody.
jobs on him, and he can't even get his own roads done, it's the
Well,
problem.
he's
you
gonna
know.
get pulled off the guys, because he's up to date on his, this is part.
If he's got, you know, if he's got the time, that's fine, but if he, you know, falling behind on his stuff up there, it's gonna make it tough to manage all his jobs, you know, if he's got a blade up there.
Well, it's, I don't wanna say, it's no different than pulling these guys off their route
No,
for a
right.
month,
But, you know, like,
And
John
yours.
Iva can handle the graveling part,
maybe, yeah.
you know.
Put them on board.
Whatever, I'm just telling you, those are the decisions that gotta get made, we gotta have somebody that's kind of a point man for it, that's gonna make sure that these guys are licensed, insured, bonded, whatever. I mean, obviously Marlis and Joe can assist with some of the details as far as making sure there's legal stuff, but somebody's gotta be,
Watch it.
I mean,
If
somebody's,
somebody's got an extra truck, I could get hired on as a temp and use yours too. It's not the product of just me using my own. I gave you my paperwork, I'm
Sure.
up to stuff, but if that makes it easier to help out with some of this, put me in one of your trucks. I don't care.
well, that'd probably be an easier solution, but even still, do we still wanna bring on any extra? If people offer, how are we gonna do it, who's gonna facilitate it, that's the question. So,
I can fill out the paperwork today. I'm here. No problem.
Dennis is here.
This is what I'd like to see, got a community there helping themselves out, getting results done themselves.
And they're talking, and they're willing to, nobody's gonna be blamed for nothing of any wrong. It's nothing more than a positive, you know?
Dennis said he'd help too. He was
Okay.
on your temp payroll last year. as a
Yeah, I know he was there, what, last year and the year before, weren't you, Dennis? Just like, you and Brian both, right?
Give him a call.
Yeah, I'm all for it.
I'm all for it, we talk, we need help, and guys step up to help.
Whatever, I'm on with too, but Evidently you got enough help that you don't need anybody. So I'm okay with it, it's fine.
We've done it before, we've had somebody overlooking it, so I think we can do it again and overlook it. How was it done before I ever got on the board?
As far as what?
Well, overlooking the guys that come on board, part-time help.
Well, we usually have a road superintendent, so.
Well, we got the assistant road superintendent.
Well, right, but
Right.
the assistant road superintendent also has a route to maintain and is now the project supervisor on another project, so.
That's what I'm
I
getting
mean,
at, you
it's,
know.
it's getting to be, if you're gonna make him the full-time superintendent until we hire someone, you're gonna have to get someone to blade his route or something too then, because it's no different than anything else. Scar's route's good now, how long is that gonna last? A week, 10 days? We're in the middle of harvest, so if you're not blading them probably every 2 weeks, then it's gonna be problems, so. That's the only thing. I'm not here to tell you guys what to do, I'm just telling you these are the things that need to get done, how it
Right.
needs to be done,
I just-
it's fine.
Yeah, if he, to me, if he has the time to overlook it, fine. If he doesn't, then just have, John Ibach, you know, he appoints somebody to overlook the gravel part. That's the way I look at it. If he has the time, he can do, fine. But if he doesn't, then he appoints somebody to overlook it. And let's move
That's no
forward.
different than the superintendent, you appoint.
Yeah, you appoint somebody, yeah, it's his decision who he wants to appoint and go from there. We just need to move on from this.
Joel, what's kind of the expectation for liability insurance if somebody comes on that's outside of the county, like what, $1 million or
I guess I don't really know. what
was there like
that-
a state limit or something like that, or yeah, it's like a state minimum? I mean, most people have $1 million liability, it's probably not that
Yeah.
hard to find, but I'm just saying, is there a requirement versus,
Not that I know about, I
Okay.
guess I'd have to do some research, but I don't know.
Can't you designate one of you to be an overseer?
absolutely. Like I said, I'm not here to tell you guys how to do it, I'm just saying this stuff should get done, that's all I'm saying, that's all. Someone should be in charge if we're gonna be bringing non-county people in, so that they're coordinating with these guys. Like Justin's been doing that just because it's the end of the project, he just stuck along with it, but it's only gonna last till the end of the week here, and then he's got a route just like everybody else to
Yep.
maintain too, so. You need to designate someone that, if Steve Schlosser came on as a, you know, subcontractor, what do you need me to do? Who am I talking to? Not calling every blade operator,
Right,
finding
so
out
he
who's
knows.
gravel. You call this guy's gonna talk to the blade operators, or he already has a list of places that need to go, and this is the blade operator gonna be working with you, so that way the gravel's getting spread, like there's gotta be, when you don't have a road superintendent, you gotta have people that are handling these projects, otherwise it's just a free-for-all.
Correct.
And it's gonna be a poor experience for anybody that comes on and helps if there's bad communication, they're not gonna wanna do it again either,
That's the
so.
worst thing you can-
And you're not gonna get
That's the
anything
worst
done
thing
for the
you can
money you're spending for if it's not coordinated in some way, shape, or form, so. That would be the question. The only thing I would remind you on too is that I believe John was designated the project manager of 88th Street too, so, I mean,
Which one's 88th?
that's the one, the culvert's there by, Singer, right?
Oh,
By
Singer.
Bauman's there,
Yep,
88,
yep,
the one that
yep,
Russ Waller's doing.
yep.
John's the project coordinator on that, as well as his other duties too, so that's just a reminder, like, he's already doing that too. Doesn't mean he can't do this, I'm just,
But they're not standing on site all day long.
no, and I'm not saying he can't do this. I'm
Today, we
just-
got technology with phones.
Just reminding you of the duties of the other guys we've made decisions on, that's all I'm saying. So, main thing about it is, you gotta have a valid Class A CDL, you gotta have liability insurance. So if they meet those requirements, then the other thing is what are we gonna be offering and how many hours? So that way if people start asking, we don't have to meet again. And if it's just Schlosser and Dennis Holm, I mean, you guys have been, I mean, you bring him on and run one of our trucks, and Dennis ran most of the stuff at the county, I mean, then you really don't have to worry about outside guys, just bring them on like you're doing these other guys, I mean, if you wanna do that, that's fine.
You're okay with that, Schloss?
Yeah,
Okay, you Dennis?
get her done.
Well, whatever, my son Brian, he's signed up with you, he's worked for you guys this spring or whatever also. And like, he said, no, you've never even called. So they called one day, you know, Skylar called one day that needed help up north where they were working up there by, like St. Michael's or wherever.
That 17th Avenue up there.
And then, but I guess whatever, and it don't matter to me, but never called all summer so far, so evidently you have enough guys, and that's okay. But I guess my question is I was just gonna see what, okay, if I put a truck on with the county, is there only so many hours you'll let you haul, or so many, I mean, nobody ever did say anything.
Right,
but-
I mean, that's what I'm saying, that's a
Yes.
part of this discussion was, are we gonna pay, I think roundabout number, we're in the neighborhood of 120 an hour or something for RTS, that's kind of been the going rate for, if you're gonna offer 120 hours, or 120 an hour, and are we gonna hire them for 20 hours a week, 40 hours a week? I mean, those are the questions that need to get answered, because that all, I mean, gotta pay them with something.
Do you
Right,
get
Marlis?
a, do you get a guarantee then when you haul? Like 20 hours, 40 hours, if it rains?
No, I
You don't,
just-
right?
I just worked with whatever Dave or Cody, we're gonna, haul so many loads or so many hours, or, well, this is the last load because I gotta get back into town by 5 o'clock and we're done. So it didn't matter to me, but
Were you running the county truck when you were doing it? Okay, so you were just a county part-time seasonal employee
correct.
working under the superintendent and the blade guys though, right? That wasn't your own truck or your own stuff,
No,
okay?
I only drove your trucks.
Sure, so I mean, I would say to answer that, if you're asking about if you come on for the county, how the hours you were working,
If I would bring a truck and trailer.
okay, then that would be a different discussion than if
okay.
you were just working as an employee,
Yes.
so that's where, cause I think if you bring on anybody as an employee, you're probably gonna work 40 hours a week, just, I guess it depends if we're bringing you on for a specific project like them, or if we were just bringing you on as a general laborer for the rest of the
Well,
year.
I was on the time when you guys had that crew in last year,
Yep,
so then I ran the loader,
sure,
so then I was out there at 6 o'clock in the morning. Yes, I put on more hours, but it didn't matter to me, but,
right.
and I was just, at that time, I was running the loader, and so.
So what are you looking for a rate for these guys?
Well,
If they're
I mean, the
part-time
question,
employees?
the agenda item was hiring locals for the gravel hauling, that was meant to be like non-employees, like bringing, like when Steve had offered a truck, and are we gonna do that, and if we are, what are we gonna pay him, and what are we gonna do for hours? Then the other question was be, if we're gonna do that, who's gonna oversee them? Those are the questions that need to get answered. Sounds great to just bring on everybody in a meeting, but there's gotta be some things
Gotta be
ironed out.
organized.
That's the thing, so. It's awesome that we have the issue where we have people that wanna work with it, and there's a few small details, which is, I mean, bringing Steve on sounds great till he's standing out at the Cattail Bay Pit for 8 hours wondering what the hell to do, cause nobody's, I mean.
I can
You know,
hire on part-time too for now. And
Sure.
The discussion we had there, Aaron, a week ago, you were hauling with contractors.
Yeah.
I just asked if you needed more help,
Right, and,
and you didn't.
well, my opinion at that time is we didn't because we had 10 trucks
Yeah,
running, when we
that was
needed help
fine.
is when them guys are done and we still have some budget
Yeah,
money, that's
I
when we need 2,
understand
3
that.
new trucks again,
So
so.
we could run with 3 trucks.
Right, and I need to get your number again, cause my iPhone died and I lost a bunch of numbers that didn't back up, so before you leave or something, jot down your number, but,
But if
that-
it helps on this project, like you said, to come out with wages or what, I can, if you have a truck available, which I'm sure you do, I can sign the papers and use yours, and I'm sure Dennis can if you need 2 drivers. All crushed gravel back or what, from town or whatever, it doesn't need to be my truck now. I discussed that, I'm willing and available to, why wouldn't I, to make money? But I mean, if you got other projects, Aaron, as we spoke, keep me in mind.
yeah, no, I mean,
This
that's.
one here in
that-
particular, if it's easier for signing the papers and come on as an employee,
It's really-
I'm good with that too.
I think the ease of it really, like for that specific project, if we have Gar appointed for it, he can manage it, that's fine. My point was is going onward, if like we're gonna have you run up from a pit up in the north country, you're gonna have to have somebody to talk to that makes the plan that that's what you're doing that day, that's.
So
what
where you're
needs to
coming with it, where you're
For
going.
sure.
That's what needs, that's what
Always
needs to
gotta have a
get
leader,
handled.
absolutely.
Do we have a truck available, or are these other guys hauling gravel?
Well, I always knew we had the 2 solid trucks because of those 2 newer Macs, and we had the belly dumps. I know we have a side dump trailer that would probably work for hauling this muck out, but for gravel, they're awful. But, the question is do we have that 3rd truck that's actually roadworthy and gonna run? I don't know if we do, but, I mean,
Either way, the only thing about it is, if you're gonna haul that muck and stuff out, You have to have an excavator to hold that trailer down so it don't tip over.
Right, on the side dump, right. and
Cause that's ugly.
Cause cause the third truck,
I'm just saying, but, yeah, you know, I'm just saying that because of the reason that.
It don't slide.
They're ugly, that muck is.
I mean, well, you would know, cause you've been working out there recently, we do have a third truck that's usually like our lowboy truck though, for hauling stuff, right?
Yes,
So
and
we
that stays on the low boy.
right, but so generally, we only really have the
The
two gravel trucks,
We have two and two side dumps,
right?
We don't have no end dump, do we?
so you don't want to use that dump.
But, so yeah, that's where even bringing Steve on, I guess that would be.
Cause I think that soil's gonna be ugly.
Okay, well,
Well, Steve, you should know kind of what you would need as a contractor.
I mean, what do you think's a reasonable rate? I mean, we've been paying around 120 an hour.
I'd do it for this project, that's pretty light, that's a little light.
Well, yeah, and to be fair, that was a contractor that was just.
Starting, that is light.
Well, that's what we're trying to do here. Steve, we're trying to run light around here, Steve.
150 is usually the real going rate. They're paying 158 in Morgan County, but, I mean, whatever it takes.
I just was using, I'm pretty sure we were getting a pretty good deal on RTS because they were using this as a filler project though too, like that. I'm just throwing it out
If that's what you're getting from them, that's what we gotta go with, I'm not here to.
I mean, I am facilitating the meeting here, boys. Make motions for whatever you want,
Yeah, there's just not enough left.
so.
They're not enough left.
Even
right?
Dennis knows at 150, there's.
I tried.
And you furnish the fuel, everything.
You guys, we gotta furnish the
I
fuel.
know.
We can't put county red fuel in the trucks.
You can, but you don't wanna get caught.
Well, you can, but I.
Yeah. Yeah, that's pretty slim.
Yeah.
But you'd be willing to do it on this project here.
Whatever it takes to get this project going and,
Yeah.
you know, that's kind of what we're discussing here today, not future.
And do you have to talk a wage with them and open it, as we agreed upon with these two guys?
Yeah, I mean, I would say so, I mean, to me right now, the question I have is, I don't know if we have that third truck that's, you know, if we bring Steve on, we don't have that third truck, then we're back in the same boat here, so I don't know who, you know, cause if you steal the low boy and you're doing it on that, then you need a low boy, then you don't have a truck again, so that's where maybe having Steve just come on with his truck and hire him for that job is probably the best thing to do, so. Do you have a side dump?
Belly dump.
You have a belly dump, so if we would need a side dump, we could furnish that.
It's got two side dumps.
No, but we can't have our trailer pulled by another truck, so then that's the other
That with
question
a
too.
contract, you can't use our equipment.
Cause you're not gonna use a belly dump to haul a bunch of muck out,
No.
so that's the question, you know, that's where some of these questions, you know.
Oh, there'd be a lot of common sense put into place in this deal too.
Well, I like common sense, it's just not always legal. That's always the trouble, it's as stupid as it sounds, but that's where, you know, I just tell Steve to go grab one of our side dumps and find out that you can't do that. Like, those are the questions that need to get ironed out when you make decisions.
It's so different with county and state, federal.
Yeah,
It's,
100%, so that's where I'm saying, these are the, you know, hashing out ideas, you know, are great until you gotta go through the fine details.
Does Larry Ember have a side dumper?
I have no
I
idea,
have no idea. I don't think Larry's got a side dump, does he?
I have no idea,
Okay.
He don't even have a belly dump, does he?
so.
He likes to use mine.
Okay, it's easier, no upkeep.
I guess I've got a side dump if you guys really needed a truck and a side dump, so you could run it. I guess, if it was.
Mark's got it, a truck, you can hold that muck out.
Do you have a loader out there?
Not as of now yet, I don't believe, unless there's one in
Yeah,
the
there's
pit.
one there.
Is there one in the pit?
I'm 90% sure, it was there last night.
Oh, that's the- But then he'd have to sign papers too, Mark.
Right, well, that's what if we have this ironed out, then it's easy to bring people on board,
Yeah,
that's what I'm trying to get at here. Like, we're circling the drain on this deal, and we need to answer these questions so we can bring people on, like, Mark only is gonna
Well,
come on
Brian-
for 2 hours,
2
you know,
hours,
just to do it, then at least we have a rate and we have his clearances and we just do it.
Brian Rudy's got a CDL too, so if they did need an additional side dump, or if Slosher wanted to drive my truck on the side dump, I don't care.
Right, I mean, if you guys prove your CDLs, your licenses and your stuff and your insurances and all that or whatever, and we can just bring you on, if it's only for 2 hours and we're paying $150 an hour, here's your $300 check, thanks for helping. So,
Whatever. It's not gonna be a lot of,
What? Go ahead, Mark.
We can't insure that truck.
no,
No.
no, they're gonna provide their own
If he's
insurance
got his
liabilities,
own
they're gonna be subcontractors, that's the point, that's what we're trying to iron out, is that,
Yeah.
Explosive
I mean, I
Joe.
don't care, I don't care if I, whatever, but if you, if it
I know
helps
that,
you-
but again, common sense isn't
Yeah.
always legal, the
Yeah.
best thing to do is
Yeah.
have everything ironed out, and we just pay you guys for the
So I
stuff you
guess
do, no donations, no nothing, that way everything's
The answer
legal.
is, I guess I do have a side dump.
Okay, well, yeah, I mean, if that's how you guys wanna work it out on your own,
That's
so
on
that the
your own,
county's
yeah.
free of the
I guess I got
liability,
both.
We
whatever.
got both.
Your insurance deals with Steve's insurance if you wreck something, that's how it's gonna be, like, we're separate entities in all this, that's why. So, CDL, proof of insurance, and what? You wanna pay the guys $150 an hour, is that the offer you wanna make? I mean, we already discussed 120 is pretty light, at least go 150.
You wanna do 120 of this and then we'll negotiate, then you wanna be at 150?
You're gonna pay 150.
What a miser. Man,
I'm a nice guy, but that's pretty.
That only goes so far, right?
saving the taxpayers' money. Okay, well, let's settle this, I don't wanna be here till noon, let's go, like, so.
150,
150,
that's what I get today.
okay.
Yeah.
Is there a motion?
Well, let's just get everything ironed out.
Put everything on
Make it,
paper.
you know, so that same thing is gonna be with the hours. I think the hours don't have to be discussed. I think what we need to discuss is who's gonna be the manager. And then that manager with the commissioners can make a decision if we're gonna run 40 hours a week or whatever. That project's gonna be different than gravel hauling, all of it. We bring some of these guys on, a lot of them ain't gonna be able to commit to stuff. Mark might be able to help out here and there, maybe he's a busy dude, I know him, so, I mean,
whatever, yeah.
right, Mark, you just got a job, thanks, bud.
Larry, you're gonna step up
Yeah,
also?
Larry's gonna drive, it's gonna be great. You got the right hat for it, Larry, it's perfect. But no, I mean, that's where, if you get these guys on a roster and you got their proofs of insurances and you bring them on as needed, if they wanna work 40 hours a week, I mean, that's where you, so,
Let's
CDL,
get this done.
proof of insurance, $150 an hour, and then the last question is gonna be, who's gonna be in charge of these outside truckers?
John Ibach, I would say.
Is that-
That's who I feel.
Okay.
He knows what has to be done, he's done it, and they can do
Our blade
it.
operators can
Even
contact him,
if, even
let him
in
know.
theory, if John is the direct overseer and he wants to have some of these guys coordinate with the blade operators day to day and he's just overseeing it, that's fine.
Exactly,
He's gotta be the one tracking the costs, answering the big questions.
Yeah.
Yep,
If his thing is, hey, Steve, you're gonna go haul for David Crum today, here's David's number, he'll tell you where to go.
Go do
Any problems, report back to me. Done.
That's fine.
Well,
That's fine, right?
okay.
yep.
So we're gonna appoint
Perfect.
John Ibach as the,
it. It's so different.
as
now.
the
There's your cell
contact
phone.
person for these outside contractors. It's gonna be $150 an hour is the rate,
Just putting it
and they have to
operator
provide
contact where it should go.
valid CDL and proof of insurance. I'll get that in the form of a motion.
Go ahead, whoever wants to do it.
I'll make a motion on whatever you said there. I'm gonna repeat it.
Commissioner Holm makes the motion that
Raise your hands.
we will hire outside trucking services as long as they provide proof of a valid CDL, valid insurance. $150 an hour will be the compensation rate, and John Ibach will be the contact person.
A second.
Seconded by Commissioner Miller. Is there any more discussion on that? And that being said, this will be fluid. I mean, it'll be based on the abilities of the guys to be able to drive, the weather.
Yep,
If there's a budget issue and it looks like we're running short of money and Marcy's raising the alarm, we'll cut it short, whatever. I think
Yep.
everybody's on
No
board.
hard feelings by anybody.
Yeah, most
Right?
of these guys
All
aren't
good.
looking for a job,
All
so
good.
yeah.
And a contract from Joe. I would
Sure,
say.
and that, well, that'll just be a part of the insurance, is basically, you're gonna be signing some kind of limited liability type contract that Joe's gonna draft that
Yeah,
keeps the county from getting sued.
Old harmless.
So, there's a motion and a second on that, is there any more discussion? Not hearing any, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion passes. Last item on the agenda is gonna be approval of some plats.
Let's get her done, guys, and let's get the signatures taken care of with Marlos.
That's just Aaron Turnus's cabin he's selling.
Okay.
His place and.
North
he needs- Yeah, he just needed a plat approved so we can do a deed.
Okay, so all these tracks are on one plat.
Yep, there's
He's
4
got-
tracks there, 2 are gonna be with that cabin, he doesn't.
Thanks, guys, appreciate it.
Thank you, guys.
Yeah, there you go, text it.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Can I get your phone number? Because Jody's out today. so
Thanks,
I'll
Jody.
have-
Thanks, Jody.
Thanks, Jim.
Thanks, Jim.
I'll have Jody call you tomorrow. What is your phone number?
321-0056.
0056?
I really didn't want this on the air.
Just wait till the blood tests and the physicals and the, no, just kidding.
Write it down.
Alright, so,
Did you know Brian?
so it looks that,
Yeah.
I got it.
Thank you.
Aaron Turnus looks like he's just subdivided several tracts out on this land and it's all, smallest lot's 1.4 acres. It's, looks to be stamped and approved. Josh, did you find any issues with it?
No issues, it's drawn out, he's looking at the map
You
now.
think so?
Greg is, but, no, it's good.
Okay. So anybody wanna look at these plats? Wanna make a motion to approve, table, or deny?
I'll make a motion to approve.
Commissioner Hall makes a motion to approve the plat for Aaron Turnus with the subdivision of tracts. Is there a second to that motion?
I'll second it.
Seconded by Commissioner Miller. Is there any more discussion on the plats, of the plat for Aaron, or?
So these
Aaron Turnus?
plats, excuse me, these plats, what does it all entail? Is this with the back set and everything?
Well, the plats is just for a subdivision of the property, that's all it is, and then any easements that are included on there, like there looks to be a small easement. on
They're
is that-
surveyed
is that
and then
section
given a lot number so then he can do a deed just on that lot number. He doesn't have to do a meets and bounds description. He can just say, I'm selling you lot 16, 1 and 2. So they do that to make it easier. for
That cabin now, we're so tough the way it's, but the cabin he's got built to that little home,
Yep.
is that back set, how many feet off that?
It's off the 33 because we gave him, it used to be old highway right away. And it would have probably been within that, but he got that back. So he's past his 33 and it'd be about that.
That's the only reason I asked.
So we have a motion and a second to approve the plat for Aaron Turnus. Is there any more discussion? Not hearing any, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Plat approved. And with that, that concludes the agenda items of this special meeting. I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
I make a motion to adjourn.
Meeting adjourned.